Hola, hola, ¿cómo están todos? Yo soy Ed Rocha y yo soy el director de español. Hello, everybody. This is Ed Rocha, and I am the director of Spanish the director at Rola Languages in Cambridge. How are you? ¿Cómo estás, señorita Erika?
Estoy bien, gracias. Hola, yo soy señorita Erika. Soy una profesora de español. Hi, I'm Miss Erica, and I'm a Spanish teacher.
Muy bien. So I am super excited to introduce adult Spanish for Brookline Interactive Group. And we are the Rola Languages team. And so we're going to come to you once a week or twice a week from now until forever to help you on your Spanish journey. Bueno, yo he enseñado español por muchos años, muchos años. I've been teaching for many, many years. Erika, ¿y tú? And
Sí,
you?
sí, yo también he enseñado español por muchos años. I've also been teaching Spanish for many years.
Muy bien. Erika, ¿cómo aprendiste español? How did you learn Spanish?
Well, my Spanish journey has been pretty long. I started learning Spanish when I was in elementary school, just a little bit, once a week after school. But after I got to middle school, then I started to learn it actually in school, and I've continued with it ever since. So it's been many years of learning and also teaching Spanish.
Wow, muy bien, Erika, muy bien. Bueno, y yo soy originalmente de Texas. Yo hablo español porque mis padres también hablan español. So I was raised in Texas, señorita Erika, and so my parents spoke Spanish and they made me speak Spanish. Ay, ay, ay. Bueno, lo que vamos a hacer, what we're going to do with everybody who's watching is we're going to teach you some Spanish every week. So this could be a class for beginners or somebody who wants to do a refresher. Señorita Erika and I use the Rola method. So you guys can go to rolalang.com. There's more information there. And we're going to be using to start the Rola Level 1 book. And we're going to share our screen with you all, and you guys can follow along. Muy bien, Erika?
Muy bien.
Bueno, vamos a practicar. Let's do a little housekeeping, though. What are the 5 vowels in Spanish, Erika? Vowels in Spanish, las vocales.
Sí, las vocales son A, E, I, O, U.
Okay, muy bien. Una vez más, one more time.
A, and you can please repeat after me at home too. A, E, I, O, U. Muy
Okay.
bien.
A, E, I, O, U. Muy bien. I'm going to show that to everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about this. So we have A, E, I, O, U. So, señorita Erika, those look similar to English, right? They're the same?
Well, yes, they're the same letters in writing, but the sounds are going to be a little bit different between Spanish and English.
Okay, so the first one is A.
A.
Muy bien. Second is?
E.
Okay, E. Third one is?
I.
I. Muy bien. Next one is?
O.
O, not O.
O.
Oh, so you're leaving your mouth open. And then the last one is U.
U.
Muy bien. So A, E, I, O, U, right?
A, E, I, O, U.
Okay, fantastic. So, señorita Erika, I heard that the sounds in Spanish of these vowels are also their names, right? So in English, we have the letter A, but the A can make a sound ah. Can you explain a little bit about that for us, please?
Sure. Yes, Spanish is a little bit simpler than English in the idea that almost all of the letters, the name of the letter is also the same sound that that letter makes. Now, there are a few exceptions, but in general, that's the case. So all of these letters, the name of the letter is also the exact same sound you're going to make. So A will always sound like A, even if it's by itself or it's in a word. Or same thing with E and I and O and U. They're always going to make those sounds, no matter where you find them in a word.
Now, is it true that when you combine the letters here, like an A and an I or an E and an O, that they actually don't really make combination sounds like we have in English. Like, for example, when the number 8 in English is E-I-G-H-T. So the E-I-G-H makes A. Is that the case in Espanol?
Well, it depends a little bit. In general, no, we do pronounce the letters separately, but sometimes if you say them a little bit fast, they will make kind of a combination sound together. So there's a little bit of variation, but in general, we will say the letters kind of separately.
Okay, so A, E, I, O, U. Okay, and Erica, una vez más. One more time.
A, E, I, O, U.
Okay, muy bien. Now, everybody, for those of you who are watching, those are las vocales. Those are the 5 vowels in Spanish. And again, it's A, E, I, O, U. So the cool thing about reading Spanish and saying Spanish and speaking Spanish is that if you know those 5 vocales, A, E, I, O, U, and you learn them very well, you can read. So in Spanish, the word for literacy is alfabetización, alphabetization. So if you know the alphabet in Spanish, then you can read. So Ms. Erica and I are going to show you how easy it is to read by sharing some words. But before I do that, I have a quick question. For students who are learning, adult students who are learning with us, and this series for Brookline is, we call it adult Spanish, but I think kids can also learn it too, or follow along with us. What would you say, Erica, is a good way to start learning a language, right? So we're speaking some English. We've taught you the 5 vowels in the first 5 minutes, A, E, I, O, U. What are some other tips might you give somebody who's just starting?
Absolutely. So everyone's going to be learning in a little bit of a different way, but especially as we're learning language, hearing and speaking are some of the most important things we can do to start learning a language well. So if you want to find different ways for you to listen to the language and to repeat, those are going to be some of the best things you can do as you just start to get used to the sounds of a new language. So even if you can't understand everything that you're hearing, just the fact that you're hearing it and training your ear to it and also repeating as much as you can, that's really going to help jumpstart your learning.
Muy bien. Y I always tell students that the first few classes of learning a language are always memorizing. Is that true?
Yes. Unfortunately, and also fortunately, that is the case. So you do have to memorize. It's just part of the nature of learning a new language.
And there's no magic around it?
I don't know. It depends. If you're really good at memorizing, then maybe you could say that's your own magic. But in general, that is true. We just have to put in a little bit of work. And again, the more practice you do, the more that you'll be able to learn and more you'll be able to remember.
Okay, muy bien, muy bien. Okay, everybody. So what I'm going to show you here is what we're going to be doing. This is going to be a preview, and I'll bring Ms. Erika back into the session here with us. But we are using the Level 1 book that we've produced for adults primarily at Rola Languages. Now, this book was designed to give adults information, but also taking into account how adults learn. So our method is called the Rola Method. And what we're going to be doing in the Rola Method is memorizing, repeating, and using. Memorizing, repeating, and using. And we're going to keep doing that over and over and over again. So I'm going to share my screen here. We have a box, and then you guys can go to our website, go to our YouTube page, and there's a lot of resources to reinforce this information. You can also contact us through our website at rolalang.com, and we can give you some tips on how to reinforce this. So we're going to bring Ms. Erika back. Hola, señorita Erika. So,
hola.
That's our first word there under saludos and greetings, hola. So I'm going to recommend that everybody gets a paper and a pen, and you start writing these down. If you're a typer, open a Word document, write them down. So we already know las vocales, right? We have A, E, I, O, U. So every time you see that, those vowels in these words, say A, E, I, O, U. Simple as that. Okay, so we're going to do the first few ones here. And let's start with hola. Hola. So Erica, repita por favor. Hola.
Hola.
Hola. Now, why don't I say hola or hola?
Good question. And this is something that many English speakers are a little confused about when they first start learning Spanish, that the letter H or H in Spanish is actually a silent letter. So whenever you see this letter in a Spanish word, you don't pronounce it.
Muy bien. So, hola.
Hola.
Muy bien. Número 2 is adiós. Adiós. Erika?
Adiós.
Adiós. Okay, so we have the I and the O. And so I know the I is E and the O is O. So let's see if everybody can hear me not, basically separate out the sound. I'm saying both of those sounds, but together. Adiós. Adiós. Erika, how about you?
Adiós. Adiós. So you can hear when I really break it down, I can hear each letter individually. But if I say it fast, it almost sounds like one sound. But I am pronouncing each letter.
Okay, muy bien. Now, is it adiós or adiós?
It's adiós.
Adiós. Okay, muy bien. Moving on. Buenos días. Buenos días.
Buenos días.
Okay, muy bien. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
And buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Muy bien. Okay, so I have some questions for you, señorita Erika.
Sí, dime, tell me.
Perfecto. So I see an accent on the O and an I, an acento, un acento. I heard that the acento is used in several ways in Spanish, but it's not the norm. It's not the default, right? We don't have acentos everywhere. I'm not going to draw little acentos just because. What are a few tips for students on why we use acentos?
Sure. So basically the acento or the accent, basically what it tells us to do is we should put extra emphasis or extra stress on that sound. So that's the rule. And so we will only see them in Spanish. We'll only see them on las vocales, on the vowels that we've learned. So we will only see accents on a, e, o, and u, not on any consonants or other letters. But basically the idea is that when we read a word in Spanish, what we should do naturally is to stress the second to last vowel. So I know that's kind of a lot of information, but you think about that, you look at the word, you look at the last vowel, and you go back one. And that's where we should naturally, that's our default, our normal stress in Spanish. And I know it seems a little bit kind of difficult to think about that, but as you learn Spanish, you get into the routine, you notice that in the words, you fall into the rhythm of putting extra emphasis, putting extra stress on that second to last vowel. But so again, that's our normal. That's what we should do best by default. And that's why, as Senor Eduardo was saying, why we don't have acentos on all of our words, because what the role of the acento is to tell us when we should do something that's different than the norm, right? So again, if our norm is we do the second to last vowel, then you won't see anything written on that word if we're following the standard rules. But if we want to show that we're doing something that's different than the standard rules, that's where the acento comes in to help us to know where we should put stress if we don't put it in the regular standard place.
Okay, so acentos are either used to move the accent, right? It's not in the standard place. And I should remember that the natural accent in Spanish is the second to last vowel, or the penultimate vowel, for those vocabulary buffs out there. There's also another way we use the accent, and just remember this, we will review this in greater detail later. It's also used with question words. So if you have a question word or a interrogative word at the beginning of a question, then we actually add an accent. It doesn't change the sound. It's just identifying that it's there. Muy bien. Now, señorita Erika, I also asked you that why I didn't say hola, hola, and you said what?
The H or the H is silent in Spanish. It's a silent letter, so we never pronounce it.
So it's hola, hola. Muy bien, perfecto. Okay, everybody. Bueno, vamos a continuar. Tenemos hasta pronto. Hasta pronto.
Hasta pronto.
Okay, then we have hasta mañana. Hasta mañana.
Hasta mañana.
Nos vemos.
Nos vemos.
Okay, nos vemos. So we have some more H's that are silent. So we have hasta and hasta. Now, what's that in, Señorita Erika, with the little squiggly mark
Squiggly.
on it? The squiggly.
Yes, good point there. So N-Y, this is the name of this letter, the N with the squiggly mark on top. The name for it is actually called a tilde, if you want to know, as we have those vocabulary buffs as Senor Eduardo was saying. So this letter, it's a little bit different. So if we just have the N by itself, it just makes N sound. But if we have the N with the squiggly on top, then it makes an N sound. So we add a kind of Y sound to it. So like a ñ sound. So instead of saying manana, if we didn't have the tilde, this is how we get mañana. That's what the tilde does. The squiggly, it tells us to add a y sound onto that n. So this is a unique thing that we don't have in English at all. So it's special for Spanish.
Okay, so muy bien. So we have the ñ, and I wrote here canyon, nya. So we actually have the sound in English. So imagine if that ny was just an N with a tilde or a squiggly over it, and you pronounce it canyon. In Spanish, we say cañón, cañón. What are some other words with ñ sound? We have mañana, mañana.
Yes, absolutely. So like our names, we had introduced ourselves as Señor Eduardo and Señorita Erika. So we can see this one from the very start. We have these words. So instead of saying señor, we say señor or señorita.
Okay, so señor and señorita. Muy bien. Okay, vamos a continuar. So now we have a couple of questions and a couple of answers, and then señorita Erika y yo vamos a practicar y vamos a tener una conversación simple. We're going to have a simple conversation using the saludos or the left-hand column on your screen. So saludos, right? Muy bien. So two questions on how to say how are you. Technically, they mean slightly different things, but just learn them as how are you. Okay, so we have ¿cómo estás?
¿Cómo estás?
And we have ¿qué tal estás?
¿Qué tal estás?
Muy bien. ¿Cómo estás?
Estoy bien. ¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien. So señorita Erika used estoy bien, which is the next one on your screen. Bien and muy bien and mal. Okay, those are three ways you can respond. Now, there's a million ways that people can respond to this question. They can say so, not so good, horribly, fantastically, amazingly well, blah, blah, blah. Memorize these three. Start with that. We're going to teach you more as you continue learning Spanish, but just start with those, okay? Estoy bien, muy bien, mal, por favor, gracias, please, and thank you, which we'll get to in a second. But a couple of other things here. Señorita Erika, those upside down question marks are pretty cool.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the upside down question mark.
Sure. So Spanish has a couple of extra things that we would do that we don't have in English. So we have the same types of marks as in we have question marks, we have periods, we have exclamation points. We have all the same things between English and Spanish. But the slight difference is that in Spanish, if we're going to use a question mark or also an exclamation point, we actually are going to put it on both sides of our sentence. So for example, if we're asking a question, we're going to have an upside down question mark on the front of the question and a right side up question mark on the end of the question. So think about them kind of like a sandwich almost. You know, we have two slices of bread on each side, and then we have the meat of the sentence in the middle. So we have this rule for questions, and also for if we're saying something like an exclamation or yelling, then we also will do the same thing where we have an upside down exclamation point at the start and a right side up exclamation point at the end.
Muy bien, muy bien. So the cool thing about this is that when you're reading something, you actually know in advance if you're reading or you're going to read a question, or if you're going to read something that's exciting, right? An exclamation point, because we're giving it to you in advance. So that's a little bit more logical than in English, because in English, when we go into a sentence and we start reading it, you don't know until the very end what it is, right? So That's pretty awesome and cool, huh? Okay, muy bien. So vamos a continuar. Vamos a continuar. Bueno, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to read all of them on the left-hand column from hola to gracias. Erica's going to read them, and then she and I are going to have a quick little conversation before we move on to the other work questions that we have on the other side. So we have hola, adiós, buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, hasta pronto, hasta mañana, nos vemos, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué tal estás? Estoy bien, muy bien, mal, por favor, en gracias. Señorita Erika.
Sí. Hola, adiós, buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, hasta pronto, hasta mañana, nos vemos, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué tal estás? Estoy bien, muy bien, mal, por favor, gracias.
Okay, so muy bien. That's awesome. So let's start this little conversation here. Okay, so we have hola.
Hola,
¿Cómo estás?
estoy muy bien, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien, gracias. Adiós.
Adiós.
Okay, muy bien, señorita Erika. So that was a simple and complete conversation, right? Muy bien. You could also say it's morning for us right now as we're recording this for you all. So, buenos días.
Buenos días.
¿Qué tal estás?
Mal. ¿Qué tal estás?
Muy bien, gracias. Adiós.
Adiós.
Adiós. Muy bien. So those are simple conversations that you all can practice at home. Practice and repeat. So I tell students that when they're learning a language, being fluent in the language actually is an instinctive response to something. So Erika, señorita Erika, is instinctively responding to my question or to my cue, right? I say hola, she says hola. I say buenos días, she says buenos días. I say cómo estás, she responds by saying muy bien, right? So those are, you want to internalize this so that you're not thinking about the answers as you continue learning learning Spanish. Muy bien. Okay, so quick review. We have las vocales. Repeat after me. A, E, I, O, U.
A, E, I, O, U.
Acentos are normally the second to the last vowel in Spanish. So second to the last vowel. And Erika, what is second to last in English?
Penultimate.
Penultimate. Muy bien. The H is silent in Espanol. So we don't say hola, we say
Hola.
We don't say hospital, we say
Hospital.
muy bien. This ñ, the little squiggly mark over the ñ, is a tilde. Tilde, and the sound is ña. So we say morning in Espanol would be
Mañana.
that's also tomorrow, or canyon would be
Cañón.
muy bien. And then we have some really cool little things here. They're called upside down question marks. That's their name. It's nothing exciting. So why do we use upside down question marks, señorita Erika?
So to let us know that we're about to read or say a question, we have question mark at the start that's upside down, and then right side up one at the end, and same thing for exclamations. We do upside down at the start and right side up at the end. But for periods, that one's just like English. We just have one period at the end of the sentence.
Okay, muy bien. Okay, vamos a continuar con presentaciones. So do not try to figure out what each of the words and each of the parts of these questions mean. Just memorize them and know that the whole thing means the translation or in English, right? Otherwise, you're going to get bogged down in the details and you might get a little frustrated. So in these first few classes with us, make sure that you're just memorizing, create flashcards, do little worksheets, exercises, or just repeat. So number one, on the right side of presentaciones, we have ¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
And one way there's like actually 3 or 4 ways of responding, is me llamo. Me llamo. So,
Me llamo.
muy bien. So, ¿cómo te llamas?
Me llamo Erika.
Muy
¿Cómo te
bien.
llamas?
Me llamo señor Eduardo. Señor Eduardo. Okay, second one question is, ¿de dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
So this is where you from. So you can take it as I'm from Boston. That's where Erica and I are from. Or I'm from the United States. Or I'm from Texas, maybe where you were born, but any of those places. So you could say, yo soy de, in my case, yo soy de Texas, Texas.
Y yo soy de Massachusetts.
Muy bien. And then, ¿dónde vives? Where do you live? Again, where you live now, where you live, your country, right? Muy bien. So, Erika, ¿dónde vives?
Yo vivo en Medford. ¿Dónde vives?
Yo vivo en Malden. Muy bien. Perfecto. Now, we do know that you don't know how to count yet for those of you who are complete beginners, and that's okay. So, you're going to go to Google Translate, and you're going to find your number. If you lie about your age, that's okay. But
No one's
memorize
gonna
the
know.
number just to practice. And in a few weeks, we're going to actually learn numbers and learn how to say the numbers and count. Then you can say the actual numbers. So, Erika, you can pick a number, a magic number. But ¿cuántos años tienes?
Yo tengo 30 años.
Wow, muy bien, Erika, muy joven.
¿Y cuántos años tienes, señor Eduardo?
Yo tengo 37. 37. So if you don't know what we said, try to figure it out with the numbers. Okay, it's your homework. And then the last one, and you can answer this in many ways, is ¿cuál es tu trabajo? ¿Cuál es tu trabajo?
Mi trabajo es profesora de español.
Okay,
¿Y
so
cuál es tu trabajo?
So my job is, mi trabajo es profesor de español. Muy bien. So, and then the last 3 are to say, nice to meet you, right? And you can choose. The only one that you might have to choose is in Spanish. We'll talk about this in later classes. We have genders of words, masculine and feminine. So I would say encantado de conocerte when I meet Ms. Erica. Ms. Erica might say,
encantada de conocerte. So it depends on who's speaking, not on who you're meeting, but who is the person who is speaking.
Muy bien. And then as always, we can always say mucho gusto. Erica and I can both say mucho gusto. Muy bien. So mucho gusto.
Mucho gusto.
Muy bien. So to finish, I'm going to have Señorita Erika read all of these, and then you're going to repeat after her. Vamos.
Okay, vamos a repetir. We're going to repeat. ¿Cómo te llamas? Me llamo. ¿De dónde eres? Yo soy de. ¿Dónde vives? Yo vivo en. ¿Cuántos años tienes? Yo tengo años. ¿Cuál es tu trabajo? Mi trabajo es encantado de conocerte. Encantada de conocerte. Mucho gusto.
Okay, muy bien, Señorita Erika. So, wrap it up for us. So, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Señorita Erika, give them some homework.
Okay. So for your homework, I want you to practice these conversations. See if you can practice using these expressions we've just learned to have simple conversations with people you know. And you'd be surprised. I bet you there are actually a lot of people around you who speak even just a little bit of Spanish who you could practice with. And even if they aren't Spanish speakers, you can become their Spanish teacher based on what you know and teach them some of the expressions they need to have a conversation with you.
Muy bien. Okay, everybody. It was great seeing you all, or hearing, or I don't see you, but nice to meet you all, and adios.
Mucho gusto. Adios.
Mucho gusto.